With getting into any hobby, sometimes all that you need to do is just to start. That was true for me in homelabbing. I don't have a background in networking, I don't have a background in Linux or in any web hosting or anything like that. While I am a data scientist and do have generally a pretty strong technical understanding, I was lacking some of the finer points of the skills required for self-hosting and homelab. That meant that I needed some pretty quick wins so that I could just have a little bit of fun with this hobby before everything turned into a slog to just learn yet another set of skills. So I started off simple. These are 5 of the first applications that I deployed on my Unraid server. Each of these applications were chosen for this video because they were useful to everyday life, easy to configure, and help build important self-hosting and home lab skills. I'll go through each one and explain what it is, why I installed it, and give a brief overview of configuration and usage. I'll also include my perceived difficulty rating for setting these services up for yourself. This will not be an in-depth guide on how to install all of these services and get them up and running. That would make this a very, very long video. Instead, it is an overview of some places that you might start your own journey. If you would like more detailed guides on any of these services, please let me know in the comments down below. Lastly, before I dive into any applications, while I will be showing my setup, which uses Unraid, all of these applications have Docker containers and can be deployed on other operating systems like TrueNAS, or even if you just have a Linux box. With all of that out of the way, let's jump right into the first application. Homebox is an easy to use and deploy inventory management system for your home. It lets you add items to different parts of your house. For instance, in my kitchen, I have added most of my wife and I's kitchen appliances. This helps us keep track of what we have and where it is. Additionally, when you create an item, you can also add a serial number and model number and all kinds of other information. This makes it easier to know what model number your appliances are without having to go and flip them over and look at the tags on them. The best part about this also is the ability to attach documents. You can add pictures, warranty information, user manuals, and just about anything else you'd need. This means that I don't have to keep all of the documentation that comes with a new product. I don't have to keep the user manual, I don't have to keep the warranty information. I can have it all digital and much easier to find. I don't need to jam it all somewhere in a closet or a folder waiting for the day that it will be used. I can just set them up in Homebox and everything is nice, easy to access, and in one place. You can also even add maintenance schedules for items that you need. I haven't toyed around with this personally as there isn't much need. I don't have my own home or anything like that. I just live in an apartment and not many of the things that I own require scheduled or regular maintenance. I could, however, see this feature being hugely beneficial for homeowners or even landlords. I'm just touching on the lighter points of Homebox here, and I'm sure there's much more that you can do with it than I've talked about. What really got Homebox on this list was just how easy it is to self-host. For a basic setup, you basically go to the community app, search Homebox, install it, and then make sure that the web UI port isn't conflicted with anything else on your Unraid box. And easy as that, you have a high quality, very fast personal home management setup. The ease of setup here earns Homebox a 1-star difficulty rating. Now let's talk about the item on this list that I probably use the most, Mealy. Mealy is an awesome recipe manager that makes it easy to convert recipe websites into recipes. Add tags to certain recipes, create shopping lists, rank your favorite recipes, meal plan, and so much more. Recipe websites do have a horrible reputation for containing tons of ads and irrelevant to the recipe information. Mealy makes it nice because it gives you one place where you can store all of your recipes and it makes it easy to get them into that format. Even if you have physical recipes, Mealy is a good place to have a one-stop shop for all of your family recipes. It sure beats my family's previous solution, which was just having a shared Google Doc. Mealy lets you create recipes in several different ways. As mentioned, you can use URLs to import a recipe into Mealy. Basically, you just throw the URL into the box and hit create recipe, and it does a pretty good job of getting the recipe all converted over to Mealy's format, but I have noticed that it generally takes a little bit of manual work to make sure that everything is right and looks good. You can obviously also add manual recipes to Mealy by a similar process. So if you have a bunch of physical recipes or a family cookbook or a printed cookbook from someone that you like, you can still manually add those recipes to Mealy. Mealy also isn't just a place to store recipes. It can help you meal plan. In the meal planner section, you can add meals that you want to cook and on which days of the week you want to cook those meals. The best part of this feature though is when you pair it with another feature called shopping list. After adding a meal to the meal planner, or really anywhere you can access a meal from in Mealy, you can click the dots and then add that meal's ingredients to your shopping list. Just make sure that you have created a shopping list beforehand. This lets you add all of the ingredients from the recipes that you have on your meal planner easily to your shopping list, and right there you've got everything that you need to buy that week when you go shopping. Lastly, there are a handful of features that I haven't personally taken advantage of yet, like the ability to set household permissions so that your crazy aunt can't steal your precious secret recipes or whatever. You can also create cookbooks that essentially are just cross sections of your recipes. I've also been pretty lacking when it comes to managing tags and categories and things like that to help organizing recipes be a little bit easier. I've just kind of noticed we generally know what we want to eat and we know what the title is. There is also a cool feature that I haven't used that is the recipe finder, where you can basically input the ingredients that you do have on hand, and Mealy will give you suggestions on what you can cook with those ingredients. All in all, Mealy is definitely one of the most used apps I've self-hosted so far. Both me and my wife use it regularly, and we're even setting up for a family so they can use it also. It's been a fun project to set up and maintain, and I love how much usage it gets. Having something you worked on get used and appreciated by others is a huge morale booster. Even though it can sometimes be time-consuming to add in all of your recipes, configuring the service itself is not that difficult. Just snag and configure an instance of Postgres 17 for Mealy, and then get the official Mealy app from the community store and use most of the default settings. You will have to make a default account in the configuration page and make sure that you connect it properly to the database as you set it up. You might also have to make sure that Mealy has permission to use your email for creating an account, but a more specific guide would dive into that. All in all, due to how useful it is and how simple to set up and maintain Mealy is with only 2 containers, Mealy earns itself a 2-star difficulty rating for self-hosting. Admittedly, this is the service that I currently use and therefore understand the least. Paperless NGX calls itself a document management system that transforms your physical documents into a searchable online archive. Basically, it's a way to organize already digital documents or digitizing existing physical documents. So far, I've just used it to keep some digital records of the documents from my dog's recent surgery. Instead of keeping everything physically or simply tossing it out, I can move everything to my instance of Paperless NGX and see it there. Now, there's so much more to Paperless NGX than simply storing documents, which is what I use it for. There are ways to automatically send documents from your email into Paperless NGX. It also can use OCR, or optical character recognition, to be able to search documents based on their contents instead of just the name of the file. It allows you to customize just about everything you need for your preferences also. As far as setup goes, it's about as difficult as Mealy. Just grab a version of Redis from the community store and give it a port that isn't already taken up. After that, install Paperless NGX from the store and make sure that the two are properly connected. Make sure that you take some time to understand what the various variables are and how to set them up according to your needs. Again, most of the defaults worked fine for me. The benefit of installing this service for me was just practicing how to make sure that containers can talk to each other correctly and getting more familiar with reading documentation on unfamiliar services. Even though I don't really use it heavily, it was a good learning experience for me. Again, with only needing 2 containers and with the configuration of both being pretty easy, Paperless NGX gets a 2-star difficulty rating just like Mealy. Image is essentially a self-hosted Google Photos. It hosts a backup of all of your photos and images and even videos, and if you have the app installed, which is available on both iOS and Android, you can configure to automatically back up media files. You can even choose which albums specifically get backed up. It has a great looking interface, it's easy to use, and all of your media files are still stored in a file format that are accessible even outside of Image. This last point is huge. In the event that your image instance breaks, your hardware fails, or if the image project stops continuing and dies somehow, you'll still have access to all of your family photos and videos in a format that you can use. They're even starting to implement some facial recognition features for categorizing and searching photos. They have album sharing, they can use tags and metadata to search up content, and many other features. The biggest benefit of Image for me is that I have total control and ownership of my content. Google isn't going to be able to train their AI models on my personal images in Image, and all of the optional machine learning features included in Image can be configured to run on your own hardware Everything can be kept internal to your network, which again is huge. Having this level of ownership and privacy is important for my personal photos and videos and is, in my opinion, the best part of using Image. The second best part is just how easy it is to set up and configure for the functionality that you get. While this is one of the more complicated setups on this list, compared to the functionality that you get, it really isn't that bad. And even compared to other applications with less functionality, it's pretty easy to set up. You will likely want to create a new share in the Shares tab of Unraid, specifically for your image backup data. After you have this set up, go ahead and snag Redis and Postgres containers from the community app store. You would configure them as normal, making sure that they don't use up any ports that are already taken. Then grab the official image instance, install it, and configure it to use the Postgres and Redis containers respectively. Direct it to the path to the share that you just created, and boom, you are off to the races with backing up your personal photos and videos. Obviously, there are some finer points than that, and you'll want to spend some time configuring it in the web UI to get things just how you like. You'll also have to make sure to configure your client devices, like your phone, to back up that data. All said and done, it can be fairly time intensive, but it isn't overly complicated to get things working. As far as the learning experience goes, this was the first service setup that forced me to use container logs and to get a deeper understanding of how to debug a container. All of the issues I ran into were user errors, but they did force me to debug and double check all of my configurations. With there being 3 containers to work with and getting them all to work together, it earns itself a 3-star difficulty rating for setting up. Last but certainly not least, Pi-hole. Pi-hole often comes up in videos and lists like this, and with good reason. Designed to be small and efficient enough to run off of a Raspberry Pi, it is essentially a network-wide ad blocker. It likely won't block things like YouTube or Netflix ads, but it does thrive on blocking all of those annoying recipe website ads that I was talking about earlier. It works by blocking DNS or domain name service requests from a large database of domains for ad and tracking services. Since it works on the network level, you don't have to install an ad blocker on every device, and it will help you reduce the ads and tracking on devices that don't even support traditional ad blocking. I absolutely love having Pi-hole running in a container on my Unraid server. I've stopped getting served annoying unskippable ads in mobile games that I like to play, like Solitaire, and browsing the web has become much more bearable. I've also heard that Pi-hole is helpful for increasing online browsing security, as it also blocks known tracking domains. I can't objectively speak to that fact or how effective it is, but I do subjectively feel like it is working. Pi-hole has a little bit more of a complicated setup than the others that we've talked about so far, but isn't super crazy and is still a great learning experience. Just grab the Pi-hole container from the apps. I use BinHex's official container. That's just the one that works for me. And during config, make sure to give it a dedicated or static IP address that you know is open on your network. That would be useful later. After install, you have to configure Pi-hole to use your preferred DNS server. I personally use Cloudflare's DNS, which is 1.1.1.1. Then you've got to change your router to use Pi-hole as its DNS service by setting the DNS server address on your router to the static IP that I mentioned earlier. Now, there are many ways to install and to use Pi-hole, and I'm sure I'm missing more of the finer points here, but even a simple setup like this has been very, very useful for me. Due to needing to set a static IP address, change DNS settings, and change settings on your router, Pi-hole earns itself the highest difficulty rating on this list at 4 stars. Don't let that scare you though. All of the services I've talked about today are definitely approachable by beginners, and all of them will teach you invaluable skills. And there you have it, 5 easy and useful apps to kickstart your self-hosting endeavors. Each of these is totally doable as a complete beginner and will provide real value and quick wins with a new hobby. If you would like more detailed installation and setup guides for any of these services, please let me know in the comments down below. Also, in the description, I have linked the official project page for each of these containers. If you're looking to start setting one up for yourself, those are great places to go to get the information that you need. If you found this video useful or interesting, please consider giving it a like and subscribing for more content like this. And finally, let me know what other services or apps you run on your home lab that helped you learn some of the important skills. I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.